15 Things You Didn't Know About James Bond. Welcome to Alux.com, the place where future billionaires come to get inspired. Hello Aluxers, and welcome back to another amazing video. Today we're finding out more about arguably the most iconic character of all time, 007, also known as James Bond. Created by Ian Fleming in 1953, the British Secret Service agent was featured in 12 novels. The James Bond novels were also adapted into films, making the series the longest running in the world, grossing over $7 billion in total. The character has proven so successful that 8 other authors have adapted the story in a series of authorized spin-off novels. Fleming said that he planned to write the spy story to end all spy stories, and he was certainly right. Because Alux.com is dedicated to becoming the world's best resource on the world's most glamorous and interesting characters, we couldn't resist taking a look at the iconic and very dashing James Bond. Number 1. The name James Bond was inspired by an American ornithologist. Fleming chose the name from a book on his shelf, Birds of the West Indies, written by a Caribbean bird expert also called James Bond. When asked why his name stood out to him, Fleming said, "It struck me that this brief, unromantic, Anglo-Saxon, and yet very masculine name was just what I needed." He's also been quoted as saying that he deliberately chose a simple, unremarkable name because exotic things would happen to and around him, but he would be a neutral figure. Number 2. Fleming began writing the first Bond novel to distract him from wedding planning. Fleming sat down to create his works at his appropriately named GoldenEye estate in Jamaica. Every Bond novel was written here when he spent 2 months of every year in Jamaica. The first novel, Casino Royale, was written in part because he was trying to distract himself from his upcoming wedding to his then-girlfriend. He clearly had little interest in flowers and seating charts, so he needed to start writing the most famous spy novel of all time. Number 3. Fleming changed Bond's firearm because an expert called it a lady's gun. Bond's weapon of choice was a Beretta 418 for the first 5 novels, but Fleming received a letter from a gun expert criticizing his choice. Jeffrey Boothroyd called Bond's gun a lady's gun, and not a very nice lady at that. He suggested that Fleming change the firearm to a Walther PPK 7.65mm when he began writing Dr. No. Boothroyd's knowledge proved to be valuable in later novels too, giving Fleming advice on Bond's gun holster as well as the villain's weapons of choice. Number 4. 75% of the women Bond has slept with have attempted to kill him. Many of the women Bond ends up in bed with just so happen to be deadly assassins. Elektra King tortured Bond with a garrote in The World's Not Enough. Xenia Onatopp memorably tries to finish him off by strangling him between her thighs in GoldenEye. And who can forget bodyguards Bambi and Thumper in Diamonds Are Forever? Many of Bond's female friends are honey traps sent to Bond to distract him, but he generally finds enough time to sleep with them before anyone makes an attempt on his life. Number 5. Daniel Craig's Bond was featured in the London 2012 Olympic opening ceremonies. The London 2012 Olympic opening ceremonies was all about celebrating British history, and one of the most archetypal British symbols. Is there a more British symbol than James Bond? Maybe one, the Queen, and the two of them teamed up for a sequence at the opening ceremonies. The Queen accompanied Bond into a helicopter to escort her to the Olympic Stadium. Of course, Her Majesty had a body double for the parachuting scene. Number 6. Roger Moore was afraid of firearms while he played the infamous gun-toting agent. Roger Moore wasn't the cool, calm, and collected Bond he appeared to be. Thanks to a childhood incident when he was shot with an air rifle, Moore was far from comfortable around firearms. He also had a stunt double for any scene where he had to run because he felt like he appeared awkward and inelegant when he ran. Number 7. Daniel Craig is allowed any Aston Martin he wants straight from the factory. The most recent Bond has managed to swing quite a deal. Aston Martin have promised the actor that he can have any car straight from the factory for life, despite the fact that he's destroyed so many while in character. Craig has said he's much more interested in driving one on a track because he lives in London and has nowhere to park. Love expensive cars? Check out our video about the top 15 most expensive cars owned by NBA players. Number 8. According to the British Medical Journal, Bond's weekly alcohol consumption is nearly 5 times the recommended amount. We all know that Bond loves a martini, but those alcohol units certainly add up. 2 doctors submitted a report to the British Medical Journal after analyzing the various Bond novels. They discovered that he drank, on average, 92 units of alcohol every week, and stated in their report that we would advise Bond to be referred for further assessment on his alcohol intake. They also asserted that Bond would likely be impotent and suffer from a permanent tremor. Number 9. Fleming would write 2,000 words a day by following a specific schedule. In 1963, Fleming wrote that he would write for about 3 hours in the morning, and again, do another hour's work between 6 and 7 in the evening. Astonishingly, he claimed to have never gone back to reread or edit his work, and it was this efficiency that allowed him to write 2,000 words every day. Number 10. James Bond almost perfectly fits the description of a psychopath. He may always be the hero, but Bond's personality ticks off a lot of points on Robert Hare's psychopathy checklist. Bond displays superficial charm, a lack of realistic long-term goals, no problem taking risks, prefers short-term sexual relationships, and most crucially, displays no grief or guilt when killing someone. Bond has killed 362 people in all of the films combined, and rarely seems too troubled by it. His license to kill, paired with a general lack of empathy, seems to help him get the job done. Number 11. Daniel Craig had 85 Tom Ford suits for the opening sequence of Skyfall. Bond is all about suave tailoring, so the actors who play him need to look pin sharp while they run on the roof of a train and get shot at. In order for his suit to remain pristine, Daniel Craig had 85 versions of the same Tom Ford suit to change into while he was filming the opening sequence of Skyfall. His double and stunt double had access to the same privileged wardrobe too. Number 12. George Lazenby has a haircut to thank for getting his Bond audition. George Lazenby was the youngest actor to play Bond and famously only starred in one film. He had previously served in the Australian Army and then moved to London to model for a while, and even worked as a car salesman for a bit, but had no acting experience at all. While getting his haircut at the same barbers as Albert R. Broccoli, he caught the famous producer's eye and managed to get an audition for On Her Majesty's Secret Service. He turned up in a perfect Bond-style suit, Rolex watch, and impressed Broccoli with his sexual assurance. Number 13. Under his Bond contract, Pierce Brosnan wasn't allowed to wear a tuxedo for any other film. The black tuxedo was such an essential part of the character of Bond that Brosnan was forbidden from wearing one in any other film. His contract dictated that he could only wear one when playing Bond. When Brosnan starred in the Thomas Crown Affair and played a rich playboy, it apparently caused a lot of problems in the costume department. Number 14. From Russia with Love was the last film that JFK watched. President John F. Kennedy was a big James Bond fan and said that his favorite book in the series was From Russia with Love. Knowing that he was the president and such a big fan, Kennedy was shown an advanced print of the film at the White House on the 21st of November 1963. The very next day, he would be shot in Dallas. Number 15. The British Royal Corp of Engineers were genuinely interested in the rebreather used in Thunderball. Many of Bond's gadgets seem larger than life, but some are based in reality. One of Bond's gadgets in Thunderball was a rebreather, and it attracted the attention of the real British military. They inquired as to how it worked, or if there were any real technology behind it. But they must have been quite disappointed when the film's production staff revealed it was made from prom CO2 cartridges and glue. For many of us, Bond is both a film and a literary icon. We've grown up watching him and reading Ian Fleming's favorite books. And with that, we've seen the character evolve throughout the decades, moving with the times and changing. There's no more unbelievable gadgets and pantomime-esque Russian villains. The Bond franchise has become even more sophisticated and appropriate for the 21st century fan. One thing's for certain, our appetite for more Bond films is unlikely to waver. 50 years on, we still love the hard-drinking, womanizing, daring 007. Which leads me to this question. Who was your favorite Bond? Do you like the most recent, tired and tortured Bond played by Daniel Craig? Or are you a big fan of the more traditionally suave Bond played by the famous Sean Connery? Oh, you're still here? Well, here's another fact about Fleming's creation, James Bond. The branch of the Secret Service that James Bond works for, MI6, was only formally acknowledged by the British government in 1994. Military Intelligence Section 6 is responsible for foreign intelligence and investigations, and has recently been rebranded as the Secret Intelligence Service. Thank you for spending some time with us, Aluxer. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss a video. If you want more, we handpicked these videos you might enjoy, or head over to Alux.com for the best in fine living content on the planet. Be a part of the largest community of luxury enthusiasts in the world and tell your story.